Yeah. Let's go back to school for that one.
If he can just be inside.
Hey, we're trying to find you in cyberspace. Yeah, we're trying to find you.
Don't look his text. The link isn't working.
All right.
You can be on the phone.
He can be on the phone if he just wants to be on the phone.
Yeah, if you want to, just so we can get through roll call, we can.
Okay, go ahead and start, and I'll catch up when I can catch up.
That sounds good. Can we have a roll call, please?
Can you turn your volume up?
It's up.
Okay.
It's a new phone.
Okay, roll call. Mrs. Shoup?
Here.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Here.
Mrs. Donallo?
Here.
Mrs. Jenkins?
Here.
Mr. Augustine?
Here.
Mr. Fodor?
I'm here.
Mr. Hack?
Here. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Second. Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mrs. Donallo?
Yes.
Mrs. Jenkins? Mrs. Jenkins? Mr. Augustine?
Yes.
Mr. Fodor?
Yes.
Mr. Hack?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Mrs. Shoup?
Yes.
Yes. The invocation tonight will be given by Tom Fitzgerald, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Lord of life and history, your servants come before you seeking your counsel upon the matters which we will consider during our meeting. May we speak and act not for the benefit of small interest groups within our community, but for the benefit of all our citizens. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have our minutes from our work session from June 15th. Everyone was in attendance. Can I get a motion to accept that?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Donallo? Yes. Mrs. Jenkins? Yes. Mr. Augustine?
Yes.
Mr. Fodor?
Yes.
Mrs. Shoup?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mr. Hack?
Yes. Now, we had our regular meeting on July 20th, 2020. Tom was absent. We get a motion to accept that.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of 7:20 as written.
Second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Jenkins? Yes. Mr. Augustine?
Yes.
Mr. Fodor?
Yes.
Mrs. Shoup?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Abstain.
Mr. Hack?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Donallo? Yes.
Yes, thank you. All right, public comments, we have none. Committee reports, planning commission. Doug?
The planning commission met on August 13th, 2020. What they considered was a text amendment of the Unified Development Code for renewable energy systems. They're proposing section 1119.18, which would be for renewable energy systems. What that would allow people to do is connect their energy system, should they do solar or wind, in with the city system. We will not be offering net metering. The amendment was approved, or it was approved 4-0, with the
ordinance number 1.
He needs to make a motion.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to untable ordinance number 1, the ordinance on garage sales.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. Augustine?
Yes.
Mr. Fodor?
Yes.
Mrs. Shoup?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mrs. Denato? Yes. Mrs. Jenkins? Yes. Mr. Hack?
Yes. So ordinance number 1. Third reading.
An ordinance amending section 735.10 in its entirety of the Painesville Code of 1998 relating to the registration of garage, yard, and porch sales and declaring an emergency.
The city of Painesville enacted legislation in 2010 to address the registration of garage, yard, and porch sales within the city of Painesville. In recent years, garage, yard, and porch sales have created issues in various neighborhoods, specifically Highland Park and Liberty Green. As a result, it created safety and congestion issues within those neighborhoods. Based on that, staff was asked to take a look at the garage, yard, and porch sale ordinance. The following recommendations are being made with regard to modifications to address concerns of safety and congestion within various neighborhoods that might hold yard sales. The first would require registration of garage, yard, and porch sales. That was typical. Require 7-day registration in advance for individual sale events or 14 days in advance of multiple sales, such as a special event. The legislation goes on to define special events as well. This is requested to provide reasonable time for the city manager or designee to determine if there is a need to hire off-duty police officers to adequately manage traffic. It allows for 4 events per year to be held a total of 3 consecutive days. That is the same as the prior ordinance. It defines the maximum sales allowed per street and zoning classification. So that's something new to the ordinance, where it basically sets out how many they can have on one street at a time or within one zoning classification. It differentiates between individual sales and multiple sales. So, for example, if a neighborhood wanted to have a neighborhood yard sale, it may classify under special event. And the reason that it would be classified as a special event, it allows the city manager or the designee to determine the necessity of hiring off-duty police officers based on a number of factors that are established. We will look at safety and congestion issues and make that determination. And the number of yard sales per street or within a specific area. No fee will be charged for the issuance of registration, but any cost associated with the garage, yard, or porch sale registration held as a special event would be the sole responsibility of the applicant. And this item is on third reading, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Christie?
So when I look at the title of special event, does it not have, I mean, which one of those, concert, parade, fair, all of that, which one of those declare, which one of those things would be a garage sale? What would we say a garage sale is with that list that's there?
And you may have to repeat that, sorry. I'm
Okay, so
having a
when you
hard
say
time.
special event means any concert, parade, fair, show, festival, I guess as I look at that first statement, which one of those would be considered a garage sale on the list that we have provided? Because it doesn't say something like, or garage sale, it just talks about other items. So how does a garage sale get to be a special event if it's not listed?
So what's your question? Where is,
Well, I guess my question is, how can you define a garage sale as a special event when it's not listed as one of the choices?
I
I guess I don't
I
understand.
think where it says, or other attendant, entertaining, or celebration.
A garage, is somebody that typically is lucky to have a garage sale. And what they would do is they would apply, under the, regular ordinance, and it would be based on zoning classification for, it says number G, individual garage sale registration. So it would be based on those factors. Zoning classification in R1, you can have up to 513, R23, and R163. The maximum number in a cul-de-sac is identified, and also the maximum sales allowed in subdivision. So for example, if it was a weekend and it was Putney Park and they have 500 homes, they could have up to 25 yard sales, individual yard sales, without having to make it a multiple yard sale. So anything more than that would get into where it would be a multiple yard sale situation, and then they would have to apply for a special event from that.
Jim has his hand up.
Oh, Jim?
Does that make sense?
It doesn't answer my question, but it makes sense.
Yes. Jim?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So if 26 people applied, then what happened? I guess my question, Doug, is 26 people applied and have a garage sale. What happened?
Doug?
Good question. I'm assuming that they would be told that they would either need to wait or that they would have to apply for a special event permit.
Well,
Okay, so if we're at 5% in certain places and it goes above that 5%, then that person is going to be told the same thing. Either you're going to have to wait or it's going to have to become a special event, and at which point in time somebody has to take ownership of that. And then the city manager will determine whether or not that they lease, and then the cost will be associated with that would go back.
That is correct.
Okay, but no one says that they're taking charge of this 2 cents.
All right, any other questions or comments, Lori?
Well, I would say two things. I too worried about what Christine brought out in the sense that I didn't think that the definition of special events actually captured garage sales as a special event. And then as far as what Jim is saying, I would also share that it looks like, now let me tell you, direct you to the right place, under point G, number 3, it says the city manager or the city manager's designee may approve garage sales beyond the maximum allowed per street based on the following factors. So it sounds like the city manager has the ability to approve beyond the maximum amounts if they determine that it's not going to create a congestion issue or a safety concern. And I think that was your question, Jim, was what happens if that 26th person applies? I think in this situation, the city manager could use some discretion and decide that it's not going to cause a problem, could deny the applicant, or could encourage them to come back as a special event. So I think it does kind of give some options. I do appreciate the fact that there's no penalty, and I would agree that there's some concern that people are just going to work their way around it. You know, somebody's going to pop up a garage sale that didn't have a permit, and then we'll be in a position where we have to go figure out who that one person is, or 2 people are, or 5 people are, and then have our officers shut them down, which could put our officers in an interesting position. So those are my comments.
Any other questions?
And the answer is yes, the city manager does have the ability to approve additional yard sales. But what we've seen in the past is the current situation that we have is certainly an issue with how it's being done, because it definitely creates safety concerns for our staff when we're not able to get a fire truck through a street, because the number of garage sales that are being held create a danger for everybody else living within a particular area. I think in this situation, that's what we're trying to address, and it gives us the ability, at least the ability to review this, to determine where yard sales are established on the street, and make sure that they're spread out enough so that they don't create congestion and safety issues for the other 400 houses that are not conducting a yard sale within a residential neighborhood. Right now, a few people are creating an inconvenience for a lot of people, and that's where we receive our complaints. So the whole purpose of this is to try and address some of their concerns, and hopefully identify where the yard sales are going to be, so that we can make it a little bit safer and make sure that they are spread out or limited on a specific street.
Mrs. Chu?
So I know in the legislation that we had before this was revamped, it talked about punitive damages. You know, if they didn't have if they didn't get a permit, then they could be cited, or there was something that the police could do to recognize the fact that they didn't have the permit. I don't see anything in here, as Lori mentioned, someone to be able to circumvent it. Someone on the street could say, hey, they're having a garage sale, I'm not going to file for it, and I'm going to put my stuff out anyway. We'll never know that. There's nothing that the police can do. They could shut them down, but the other ordinance had negative. Did it not have something in there that was a fee or a fine?
It was a misdemeanor.
And so we take, I don't think it should be any garage sale should be considered a terrible punitive thing, but we're not going to know if they have any. What will the police be able to do? Just shut them down then?
Can you repeat that question?
legislation had, it was a misdemeanor if you were caught having a garage sale without a permit. We've removed that from this, so there's nothing punitive in this, is that true?
You can't hear her. Is there
Yeah, I can hear her. I can hear her, but I can't hear you.
is there a penalty if they don't have a permit?
Yeah.
What is it? What is the penalty? There was a penalty in the previous legislation.
Yeah, there was a penalty in the previous legislation, and I don't know whether the penalty is, I guess I'll refer to Joe with regard to the penalty.
Joe?
Joe is wide-eyed.
They can't hear the headlights, so crazy.
Come to the bus.
What section is this? What section is it?
Codified code.
Yeah. What's the?
735.10.
735. If there's a provision, if there's no provision in a particular ordinance, then a violation of the ordinance is an offense. Oftentimes, there is, at the threshold of the chapter that you're dealing with, a general statement that says a violation, at either the threshold or the conclusion, says violation of any provision of this chapter is and it sets forth the penalty. So I don't know if it's in this one, or if it's in this or not.
He said it may say in the beginning of, in the
Either the beginning of the
beginning
chapter
of the chapter or the end of the
or
chapter of the codified.
It's sort of a catch-all, it's sort of a
Like a
catch-all
catch-all.
phrase, yeah.
Did you hear that, Doug?
Under section, yes, under section 735.
Yeah.
And I do not have a copy of that.
I don't have
And Lynn just texted me that it's under 735.12.
Which we don't have in front of us.
I can refer to it. If I can, you want me to pull it up?
No, I'm fine with that. It was
I-
different.
Yeah, I would not mind pulling it up if you don't think it'll take that long. Just
No, I
because
don't
I'd
think
like to
it'll
have
take
a penalty. Well, I want the police to go there, not.
Well, there'd be no reason to spend resources going there if there's no,
Well, how would they even know who?
I don't-
has a
While
permit?
Bella's doing that, may I make a comment?
How would the police know?
Yeah, how would
Sure.
they even know? And they have to go around and count each garage sale.
Katie wants to make a comment.
go ahead, Katie. You're on mute.
You're on mute. You're still on mute.
Okay, so I think that the question that Christine was trying to get at is whether or not we have a defined piece in the ordinance that states what a yard garage or porch sale is. And I just wanted to make sure Christine knew that it is under the definitions of 735.01.
735.12, Valerie.
735.12.
Katie, I did see that the definition, that wasn't my question. My
So
question,
the original, the 735.01, where it does the definitions for the whole 735 code, it says yard, garage, porch sale means the display includes household items, furniture, clothing, toys, tools, etc., either on the yard, porch, or in the garage of a residential property for the purpose of sale at that location.
Can you guys see the shared screen? It's a minor misdemeanor.
yes,
Yeah.
I see it.
So they do that.
But Katie, my question was not what it was a garage sale. My question was the special events doesn't detail the word garage sale in defining it as a special event. I know what a garage
She
sale
can't hear you.
Yeah, she's echoing so bad.
You want to come across from me?
No, I'm fine with it. I get it. I'm done.
Christine?
I don't know why it's not listed either.
No, we had talked about moving though, but it didn't happen.
It's because of the screen. I can't move.
Special event does not necessarily mean garage sale. Garage sale, the definition of special event does not need to incorporate the term garage sale. But the way I think the way it's written is a garage sale, multiple garage sales are considered special events. So when they go down to talk about this, it says it's a special event, I think. I'm not sure. I think that would answer your question, maybe.
You guys want
Yep, I'm
to?
good. I'm good.
Does anyone else have any more comments?
I got a motion.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Roll call.
Did you guys hear there was a motion to adopt in a second?
Yes. It was,
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Fodor,
Yes, I did.
you're on mute. Mr. Fodor,
No.
Mrs. Shute,
No.
Mr. Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Mrs. Denato,
Yes.
Mrs. Jenkins,
No.
Mr. Augustine,
Yes.
Mr. Hack.
yes. So we do not have a majority.
We did.
Ordinance one passed. Ordinance number 2, third reading.
An ordinance amending section 167.07 relating to the classification and compensation plan and declaring an emergency.
As required by City Manager Ireland, the position of Public Works Superintendent will be reclassified from a grade 25 to a grade 23. And the Finance Director will have the responsibility of the Human Resource Manager removed from their official duties and will still remain at a grade 26.
Questions?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Shute,
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Mrs. Denato,
Yes.
Mrs. Jenkins,
Yes.
Mr. Augustine,
Yes.
Mr. Fodor,
Yes.
Mr. Hack.
Yes. Ordinance number 2 passed. Ordinance number 3, second reading.
An ordinance enacting section 1117.10 appearance standards for non-residential uses in the B1 and B2 districts of the Painesville Code of 1998 relating to commercial properties in B1 and B2 districts and declaring an emergency.
At the July 9th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting, they gave a favorable recommendation on the proposed text amendment to the Unified Development Code. This is adding section 1117.10, appearance standards for non-residential uses in B1 and B2 districts. This provides for development standards for all
on the style. There's some things in there like glass block. Why could a glass block's not, you know, what are they saying would happen if they use glass blocks to fill a window space? And then also like the smooth-faced tilt-up concrete panels. What's problematic about those?
And what I heard was the question regarding glass block.
Yeah, like why is glass block filling windows offensive, an offensive look, or deemed an offensive look? And also, why are the smooth-faced tilt-up concrete panels deemed offensive looking?
Sorry, I missed the second one.
Can you speak the second about?
Yeah. So the second one was the smooth-faced tilt-up concrete panels. What's so offensive about those?
Those are typically not, I mean, if you're looking to put up a very inexpensive building, that's what would be used. What we want to have the ability to do is make sure that the building blends with the existing buildings in the area. And those types of material for glass block on the front of the business, it's not something that a business would typically use, or is aesthetically pleasing. So we would work with them to identify other materials that are reasonable, but also blend in with the architectural style of some of the other businesses for a residential or residences within that general area.
I guess I understand the motive. That's not what I'm questioning. I'm just trying to, you know, we're being asked to pass this as an emergency tonight, and I don't have any visuals on a lot of this stuff, so I don't really know.
So, all right, on Lexington Street, there used to be the STP building. That is a panel building. It's concrete precast. It's really industrial ugly, but that's what those panels are. They're like a precast, so they can put them up real quick. And that's what they're trying to regulate, that you can't do that in a zoned area like this.
Paul, could they put those up and put some type of other covering over them?
They typically don't,
But
because
could they?
they could.
So could they use these and then decorate that somehow? That's my question is, so for the quick and the speed of it, and I mean, I read a little bit about it myself. I just, you know, I guess I don't feel like I have enough information on a lot of the things that they're not liking.
They could, and it could be, I mean, they could put brick over top of it or something along those lines to address that concern. But we would certainly work with them to do that and make sure that the exterior is something other than the concrete panels.
I mean, typically they don't do both because it's not cost effective. You're better off doing one style and then you're.
I see. What about who determines whether or not a bench needs to be out front or a bike rack? How does that get decided? Or picnic tables? What determines that those would be needed in the place?
Did you hear that?
You see it.
So it's basically looking, what we would do is we would look at the general use of the building and then make that determination whether we felt that it would require a bike rack or something of that nature, depending on the neighborhood and how we feel that people will traverse
hurting for businesses. And I guess my underlying concern is that if we have too many restrictions and people are told that they have to have things that increase the cost of building here, that it'll be a deterrent for them to come. And with that, I would say I still want things to look nice. I just don't want to over-legislate.
Right, and we will continue, we have always worked with businesses coming in within the community, and we will continue to do that. However, we will work with them to make sure that they are aesthetically pleasing, and that is our goal. It's not make it so expensive that business cannot come in to the community. That is not our goal. Our goal is to continue to work with them and make sure that it's something that everybody's proud of and the community and a long-maintained thoroughfare coming into the city of Painesville.
Katie, did you have a question?
Well, I was just gonna say, this is comparable to the codes that we have in our historic districts and other design review districts. So, I mean, I don't feel like this is so far outside of those areas and what we request to use, preferable, what the preferable materials are. So, that's all, I just wanted to bring that up.
Right. Any other questions? If not, we get a motion for.
Move to suspend?
Second.
Mr. Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Mrs. Denato,
No.
Mrs. Jenkins,
Yes.
Mr. Augustine,
Yes.
Mr. Fodor,
Yes.
Mrs. Shute,
Yes.
Mr. Hack.
Yes.
Move to adopt.
Second?
Mrs. Denato,
Yes.
Mrs. Jenkins,
Yes.
Mr. Augustine,
Yes.
Mr. Fodor,
Yes.
Mrs. Shute,
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Mr. Hack.
Yes. Ordinance number 3 passed. Ordinance number 4, first reading.
An ordinance to approve and adopt the 2020 codified ordinances, including new matter contained therein, and declaring an emergency. This is just annual legislation adopting the codified ordinances that you guys have already adopted. It's just putting it into our notes.
Any questions on this? Concerns? Is
I can go through these if you don't want to.
there any reason to have it?
There's
I would move to suspend, yeah. Move to suspend.
Second?
Mrs. Jenkins? This is a motion to suspend. Mr. Augustine?
Yes.
Mr. Fodor?
Yes.
Mrs. Shute?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mrs. Denato?
Yes.
Mr. Hack?
Yes.
Move to adopt.
Second?
Roll call.
Mr. Augustine?
Yes.
Mr. Fodor?
Yes.
Mrs. Shute?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mrs. Denato?
Yeah.
Mrs. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Hack?
Yes. Ordinance number 4 passed. Ordinance number 5, first reading.
In ordinance amending section 1349.21 of the Painesville Code of 1998 relating to rain vegetation and landscaping features and declaring an emergency.
I'm going to review the next few pieces of legislation because they really go hand in hand. At the recommendation of the law director, we are modifying section 1349.21, right vegetation and landscaping features, to remove as well as within the public right of way from that section of the ordinance. So we are amending
reason why this cannot go for 3 readings? I noticed in the packet it says that we should approve it, but I was curious. I had a conversation with someone today that it could go 3 readings.
Yeah, it can go 3 readings.
I'd like to interject. There has been, we have to modify it before it passes, because you have an ordinance amending section, blah, blah, blah. There should be an ordinance enacting section.
Okay.
Because there is no 2-1-1 right now, so we're enacting a new ordinance.
Yeah, thank you. We'll leave this on first reading. And then.
This is amending, this isn't 211. The next one's 211.
Oh, sorry.
This is,
So, could you put 2-1-1 up, the next one up?
yeah.
Okay, did you want
There, okay, that's all right.
Right.
In here, right, in here
Yeah,
it says.
yes.
Okay,
We adjusted the.
yeah, right.
the-
We're okay.
Yeah.
We're fine.
to, do you have any questions on ordinance number 6?
Yes, so my question is, what does this change? Gain us, cause, what is the reasoning behind making this change?
Doug?
It's a clarification for the maintenance and upkeep of the right of way or tree lawn.
So your
Is it
response?
something that has been challenged, or is it just something that it's a routine maintenance checkup kind of thing, or?
Do you want me to respond?
Yeah.
Mr. Gurley would like to respond.
Can you hear me, or do you need me at the microphone?
Can you hear Mr. Gurley? A little bit.
Can I go to the mic?
I'll plug it in. I'll plug it in.
No, I can't hear him.
We're gonna plug them in. That's it.
Oh, great, yeah, now talk with your, if that doesn't work, you can talk with us.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear him now?
I can't. I don't think it's working.
Or not?
It's this that they're listening to.
That is high tech.
Can you hear me?
They're all nodding, yes.
Go ahead.
Let me just.
Okay. We have utilized the ordinance as it currently exists to impose the duty upon the property owners, adjacent property owners, to cut the tree lawns. We've run into a situation where we did that for an individual, and they've challenged our authority to do that and lien their property for cutting the grass that they refused to cut. So they hired an attorney. The attorney contacted me. I referenced them the ordinance that the city relies upon. But when I did, I looked at the ordinance and I recognized that, well, we may win. There's a chance that we can win, but let's give ourselves the best chance to win. Since we weren't talking about a lot of money, I suggested to Doug that we remove that leaning on that particular property, and we can amend the legislation to make it perfectly clear. And then when we get challenged, which I expect we're going to get challenged by this particular individual, that we will have something stronger to work with. And the reason I say that is because if you look at that section there where those ordinances are, it talks about for the tree lawns, it talks about the property owner, and not getting into the legal specifics of it. If you look over on the sidewalk section, which follows, I think, 1 or 2 over, it specifically states that the abutting property owner is responsible for keeping the sidewalk clear of debris. So what I've attempted to do is incorporate that language into the tree lawn ordinance so that we won't have any kind of question. So that if we get challenged, we'll have a better tool to work with. That's what the solution.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure. Yes.
So one of the things I kind of wondered about was, is there any situation in which a right-of-way is abutted by anything besides like a property owner's property abuts any other right-of-way besides a tree lawn or a sidewalk? Like, would a park be considered, like, could this get, how am I saying this? Could this mean other things besides a sidewalk, or could this mean other things besides a tree lawn?
A park is not a right-of-way.
Okay, but
Road is a right-of-way. The problem that sometimes develops is that especially in Payson, since it's an older community, well, you have situations where the property line does not end at the right-of-way line. The property line goes to the middle of the street. So that we have a right-of-way over the property, okay, but their property line goes into the middle of the street. That allows us a lot of other flexibility in terms of placing requirements on people to mow that lawn. So anyhow, once again, we're trying to address the situation where the property line abuts the right-of-way, and the right-of-way is a roadway, not a park would not be considered a right-of-way. It would be considered public property, but not a right-of-way.
so is there anything besides a tree lawn that we would have, that could get caught up in this, is what I'm asking, situation?
I cannot envision. But as I was talking, Christine and I talked about this today, you write these things, and then 10 years later,
Right,
a situation develops that you just didn't anticipate.
right.
So I can't sit here and say absolutely positively, but as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking of the situations that exist, and think that this covers it. And once again, it's just to give us a better tool to face challenges in the future. Yes?
So, because it's been challenged, and I think that goes back to Katie's question, because this has been challenged by an outside individual, is it better that we let this go 3 readings?
Well, there is no pending litigation right now.
Okay?
How can I say this? If a person did not want to abide by the rule and wanted to challenge us, then I would be willing to utilize the laws that currently exist to defend the city and its policy about the tree lawn. But I would feel better if we had, but I would feel that it would be, we would have even more arrows to shoot if we make the adjustment that we did. So the sooner we make the adjustment, the less chance we have of being challenged by someone who will challenge us under the old law. Does that make sense?
But someone has to be.
But we haven't been challenged,
Right.
except for this one incident, so I do not feel that this is a,
And since that incident's gone away, we removed the lien, there's no what is the likelihood of that individual re-challenging us if there's nothing out there to re-challenge?
until, if we pass the legislation, the new law, and then any individual in the city decides that they are not going to comply with the law, then we're going to move forward and do what we've been doing in the past, but we will do under the verbiage of the new ordinance. So, I don't particularly see the urgency of doing this, just it's something that I feel we ought to clean up a little bit.
So it goes back to the point, should we wait 3 reads or?
Well, we can at least create one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Oh, Nick,
What exactly is the back vegetation? I've seen people who plant all sorts of different things out in their lawn, that area. And I'm curious, does that have any things that shouldn't be there, or is it just stuff that we, the sidewalk, or overgrown grass, or?
Yeah, I think the code, I'm sorry, Nick. I think the code defines rank vegetation. And one of the definitions is grass over 6 inches high. noxious weeds. So if you're planting roses out there, I don't think it's gonna fit under rank vegetation.
Good?
Flowers, ivy,
Right.
things like that. I want to see, even though my personal opinion, I think that would necessarily be something that would count as rank vegetation.
Well, you'd have to look at the definition of rank vegetation, look at what you're looking at, see if it fits.
Right.
Sure. The definition under rank vegetation means any growth of weeds or grass to a height 6 inches or higher on any developed residentially zoned property and 12 inches or higher on all other land or lots. Thank you, Don.
All right, we'll leave this on ordinance number 5 on first reading. Ordinance number 6, first reading.
An ordinance enacting section 1349.211 of the Painesville Code of 1998 relating to tree lawns and declaring emergency.
This is the counterpoint to number 5, and we'll leave this on first reading also. Ordinance number 7, first reading.
Give me a second.
Sit at the grown-up table.
My second is gone, so give me 1 second. All those pages are yours. Right? Yep.
Yeah.
An ordinance amending appropriations for the current expenses and expenditures of the City of Painesville, State of Ohio for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2020, and amending the original appropriations for the 2020 operating budget and declaring an emergency.
Okay, this is a budget increase for the 2020 budget. The main part of this is approximately $985,000 for the CARES Act money that's related to the coronavirus funds that were from the feds. We could spend up to $985,000, but it has to be a qualified COVID-19 expense. Also in there, this adjustment is for the new fire truck that we already bought. It's just a bookkeeping issue. And then, as you know, we're switching to our new accounting software September 1st, and we have to close out some purchase orders in the old system and then open them up in the new system. And so that's part of this as well. And then we're asking that this gets approved tonight.
Question?
Move to suspend.
Second.
Mr. Fodor?
Yeah.
Mrs. Shute?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mrs. Donello?
Yes.
Mrs. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Augustine?
Yes.
Mr. Hack?
Yes.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Second.
Mrs. Shute?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mrs. Donello?
Yes.
Mrs. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Augustine?
Yes.
Mr. Fodor?
Yes.
Mr. Hack?
Yes. Ordinance number 7 passed. Number 8, resolution, second reading.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Next Site LLC for research, marketing, and consulting services and declaring an emergency.
The legislation before you would allow us to enter into a contract through the Concord Painesville JED for a agreement with NextSite to provide research, marketing, and consulting services to the JED. It would be a 3-year contract, and there would be no initial cost to the city of Painesville
to unfinished business, we have none. New business, none. Law Director,
No report.
City Manager.
Nothing additional.
Okay. Clerk of Council.
The next regular council meeting will be held Tuesday, September 8th at 7:30. We will be back to the 2 council meetings a month, starting next meeting. City Hall will be closed Monday, September 7th for Labor Day. Lake Erie College returned back to classes today, and the semester will end before the Thanksgiving holiday on November 24th. Painesville City Schools returned back on August 24th. Story time with the fire department is Wednesday, September 2nd, from 6 to 7 at the gazebo. That's still going forward. The Health District has moved Lake County from a level 2 to a level 1. Once the county commissioner gives the city the okay to go ahead, they will, the city will explore bringing back events. That's it.
Okay, great. Closing comments. Nick.
I have nothing for today.
Katie.
So I wanted to give condolences to Steve London's family. I know he had been ill, but it's still tragic to lose somebody. And I just wanted to give council a heads up. I actually received a phone call this evening from a resident who had shown up to attend the council meeting. He has some concerns about the ordinance regarding rank vegetation. I did direct him to send us an email so that we are able to review it publicly. But one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up is because I want to make sure that we're appropriately notifying and frequently notifying our residents that they're not able to attend publicly
Katie and Jim and share that I appreciate the service to our community from both of those gentlemen. And I also would just tell council that I appreciate the conversations tonight about the legislation, and also remind everybody just how creative I think that our administration has been in dealing with the COVID pandemic, as well as how really cooperative I think for the most part that our residents have been. And it just makes me proud to live in the community. That's all I have.
Tom?
I'd like to ditto the same thing about the condolences. Steve was a great neighbor, and I know he was enthusiastic about our city of Painesville, and we'll miss him. And I'd also like to thank the police department for all the work they've been doing in the last few weeks with all the issues that have been going on in Painesville. And I know the chief has kept us well informed on the COVID, so I'd like to thank them also, that's all.
Christine?
I have nothing today.
I'd like to get a motion to adjourn from the public meeting and to go into an executive session.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session being held in accordance with ordinance 121.228 to consider confidential information related to marketing plans, specific business strategy, production techniques, trade secrets, personal financial statements of an applicant for economic development assistance, or to negotiate with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance in accordance with section 3735.67 of the revised code, and an executive session being held in accordance with Article 2, Section 6.1 to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of an employee or official of the city.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mrs. Nadal?
Yes.
Mrs. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Augustine?
Yes.
Mr. Fodor?
Yes.
Mrs. Shute?
Yes.
Mr. Peck?
Yes.